Okay, we're back to day 113. This lighting is garbage, but I don't care. I already regret holding this. Should I do it? No. Why am I so dark? I don't know. I haven't done anything. So, nothing to say. Nothing to say today. So, yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. And I don't know the years, but back in in Shakespeare, when Juliet lost her cousin, and they're like, oh my god, family member, they were supposed to be sad for one night, and then they're supposed to get over it. Obviously, she wasn't sad about her cousin, she was sad because of Romeo, blah, 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 who cares, I can't see him. But what I was gonna say is, what happened is, it's odd because then in the late 1800s, is it 1800s? I mean, the silhouette makes me think late 1800s, but I really don't know. But in Sherlock, late 1800s, I don't know which one's the true. I want to stick with 1800s because it was based in the 1800s, and that might not be when Sherlock is actually based. But anyways, moving on. What happened is, at that time period, not actually family members, but mourning widows can spend up to 4 months without getting a side eye when they're wearing their typical mourning widow outfit. So it's kind of interesting to see that there's this great difference in mourning styles, maybe even for different family members or loved ones. I think that was really interesting because, again, it was very funny to read Romeo and Juliet and it being and it having the first telling her she isn't sad enough, and then saying that she was too sad later And I really stubbed my toe, and I got something on my toe, and I don't know, like toenail, and I don't know what it is. I need to check that out. It really hurts. But having different mourning styles for things is really interesting. And then also obviously cultures have different mourning periods with one of my co-workers' uncle died, and the family members, I think, was supposed to go to his house daily for 2 weeks, and then like let him and his him go. I'm like, that's interesting. And then obviously others are different, and so yeah, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. But yeah, with Ethan, I think he thought, I don't know for sure, I think he came out pretty much as bisexual or not straight in a lot of ways, but I don't know for sure. It's kind of a weird upswing in fashion for guys to almost be attracted to other guys without actually being gay or not straight. But anyway, the point was that he pretty much came out, if I'm not mistaken, and same with Aaron Hansen from the Game Girls mentions, I think, being part of the LGBT community in one way, shape, or form. But I think it was interesting that Ethan's ex, I think Mika, if I'm not mistaken, went by she/they. I think that's really interesting. Jacksepticeye's editor, Robin, came out as a he/him trans woman, if I'm not mistaken. And then and to have this my toe really hurts. Ouch. I just see if I hurt it worse than I think. Anyways, with Mark, it's really funny because I saw this comedian who did this bit where cis straight guys, especially just cis guys, they don't know the word they just don't. And the example was they'll always be like, he can do anything, oh, or she, and kind of will be maybe if they're trying to be woke, add a they at the end, but the whole point was that they don't know they. They'll add she and be like, oh, I'm so inclusive. And if that is literally not Mark in a nutshell of being saying he, then she, and then adding it, maybe adding a they, usually I think not, which was very funny to me because obviously now that I made a comedic joke about it, it just stands out even that much more, which already stood out to me. He made fun of it before that, but it was such a good joke because I know Jacksepticeye tries to be very inclusive, and his language is very inclusive, so if I assume if he met someone who does go by they them, he would be really good at it. But when it comes to Mark, when I think it was when they were building their scarecrow kind of thing, he said Mark was what should his name or her name or their name, it can be, it doesn't matter the gender. And I was like, but that was, I think, at the time they added they, or he added they, but yeah, I don't think I've really ever watched anything with Mark that had a LGBT character in it, if I'm not mistaken. So I actually don't know how good he is with like other things, because he mainly does horror. Horror kind of has background story. It's usually not front and center, but with Jack Hershon, or whatever you call him, he mentions, or he can like recognize, and I think it's so obvious in like the history of like video games, they added lesbian characters at first because they were like more attractive and they were actually for male gaze and blah blah, but it's so much more frequent that I see a lesbian couple or even a lesbian more than I would ever see a gay man in a video game. So it's so funny because like Jack, he will be like, oh my god, look, and I think it was like with Clementine, and it was with something else, and he picks up on it very fast. That's like, oh, they used to do, Life is Strange. He picks it up quite fast, and I'm like, you know what, actually, cool. Well, quite fast for him. I think sincerely, like, reading the story as intended, and I think that's really fast. But then he and Into the Woods, like, he was really quick to be like B or Bia, I don't remember, and the other character kind of really fast to be like, oh, maybe they like each other, both of them being like women or characters, but then literally I think it was Greg was talking, and it's like how it like talking about, Greg was talking about living with Angus and their story, like they are doing great and stuff, and I think Jack was like, oh yes, men best friends or something like that, and didn't realize that they were a couple. And then there was another, and I have no idea who it was, I just saw a compilation of people reacting to that particular reveal and went, oh, Angus, that's a weird name for a girl. And I'm just like, what? So it was really funny that story, like that reveal of them being like a couple. You didn't meet Angus yet, he just didn't show up yet, but it was very funny to have that and have some people think Angus was a girl, have some people think that they were actually a couple. So I think it really is telling that like gay men in video games are just not a thing as much as even a lesbian or a bi woman. I think I'm not saying it's good representation, do not get me wrong, but it I think happens to the point where you can expect it more. So it's actually kind of interesting. I think also in Life is Strange 2 with the brothers, you can go for the one woman, or you can go for the guy. I don't remember either of their names. Obviously I would have went for the guy because I was more intrigued in his story, and him more than the other woman. I don't think she has too much to give me. Anyways, but what happened was, I think Jack was like, oh, this is how you get, you know, I don't remember what her name is, and it was like instantly going for her, and I don't even notice if he realized or not right away, and I think he mentioned it like later, like maybe an episode or so later he mentioned it, so I don't know if you even recognized it. And I know he's also not super confident because I thought in his Cyberpunk playthrough he mentioned, it wasn't Claire, was it? No, it was somebody. It was a trans woman. Representation because kind of just there, like the character, not like her being trans. I don't care if you scream that from the freaking rooftop or not. I do appreciate that it wasn't her only thing, but I don't think it was done particularly any which way. And I know a lot of, I think it was a straight cis man, but especially a cis man, was like, oh, and she's the best trans character that ever existed. And I'm like, shut up, what do you mean? There are other video games, like not many, but there's others that I think especially Tell Me Why was so much better in every way, shape, or form. The trans character is done more on screen. There's more to than just kind of just being there. I know that she was talking about her wife. Nope. Wish. Talking about her husband, but I didn't love that she's like, they're like, oh, and she definitely doesn't have any mods like your main character has, and or a lot of people have. Also note, the more visible mods someone has in Cyberpunk, the lower life criminal that they are. There's this one guy, and I can't remember his name. He has his whole face, especially like right here, is just glowing red eyes and stuff. So the more like the dirtier sections, and you can kind of tell that they're low lives because they have more mods done to them. So her being unmodded completely, you know, but there's also that, so I don't know, so again, she's not a bad trans character, but it was like, it's not the best. It's more like, okay, good, like, and if that's the best character that you can think of as trans, that's just stupid and ridiculous. But yeah, so having Jack, I think, kind of know it because there's the flag on the back of her truck, and that would have been good enough. I think would have been perfectly fine. Leaving it there. Also, she isn't in much of it. I wouldn't be surprised if she was added after the whole transphobic ad in it was done, was like talked about. Anyways, point was, I think only after she revealed that she was trans, of course, after bonding with the your main character V for a little bit, she not outs herself, but she comes out to you, says, yeah, my husband was there when I transitioned, blah blah. And but just Jack's like, I knew it. So the idea that yeah, I also know he's just not very confident saying these things, but I think especially gay men are just not done well and just not done in video games at all,